which is necessary for us to improve the continent's prospects in trade. The co-host, Dr. Engineer Khaled Hassan Sufi, chairman of the Egyptian Organization for Standards and Quality, is the current chairman, as I've mentioned, and he has taken on standardization roles and responsibilities at the international level that includes membership of ARSO Council, a council member of the African Organization for Standardization, a council board member of the Standards and Metrology Institute of Islamic Countries, is CIMIC. Dr. Khaled is a former United Nations expert in UNIMIS and UNIMSIL. Sufi currently serves as ARSO Council member for the 2022-2024 term. With a dual degree in engineering and quality management system, he has more than 25 years of experience in quality management in Egypt, Africa, China, and the Middle East, lecturing postgraduate courses. Dr. Khaled holds a BSc in engineering and MSc in quality management systems from the Arab Academy for Maritime and Science, and a PhD in statistical control and quality assurance, and a diploma in laser measurements. I will welcome Dr. Engineer Khaled Sufi to give his remarks before we move on to highlighting the topics which will be covered under this particular webinar. Engineer Khaled Sufi, welcome, sir, for your remarks.
Thank you very much for this introduction. Dear brother, Dr. Harmogene, Secretary General of the ARSO, dear participant, ladies and gentlemen, I'm truly excited to welcome each of you to this important webinar on the crucial role of the effective market surveillance plays in promoting trade and ensuring that product consumers buy are safe and high quality. Market surveillance might sound like a technical or regulatory term, but it's so much more than that. It's a foundation upon which trust and confidence in our global markets are built. When we talk about market surveillance, we are talking about the process that help monitoring and check the product and service available to the consumer. This monitoring is essential because it's protect consumer from harm and help maintaining the integrity of international trade. Today is an opportunity for us to come together and discuss how can we improve collaboration between government, industries, and consumer organization under the umbrella of ARSO and standardization bodies by working together, sharing our best practices, and fostering a culture where compliance is a norm. We can build a market surveillance system that is not only strong, but also resilient and adapted to the challenges of the modern world. Actually, market surveillance is also a key part of consumer protection. It's empower consumer by giving them confidence in the product and choose to buy. And by the way, I'm talking to you from the Egyptian Consumer Protection Agency. I was just attending a meeting we just finished. So I decided to talk from here rather than go to my office because it's all integrated together. So when customer knows that the product they are purchasing are safe and meet the required standard, this confidence encourages them to engage in cross-border shopping, which in turn drives consumer safety and loyalty. Where customers feel secure in their purchasing, it creates positive cycle of benefits to everyone. Our ultimate aim through this webinar is to contribute to the creation of a marketplace where consumer can trust that the product they buy are safe and good and of a good quality through robust, effective, efficient, and applicable standards. And where business can operate on a level playing field, we want to see marketplaces where fairness and competition go ahead hand in hand. I'm confident that through the open dialogue we will have today, along with sharing of knowledge and experience, we will be able to come up with new and innovative solutions to enhance market surveillance system around the world. By working together, we can build safer and more fair global marketplace that benefit everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm looking forward for our discussion today. Thank you for this opportunity from ARSO. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid Hassan Sufi, for your opening remarks and encouragements, and the fact that currently you are discussing with the Consumer Protection Agency in Egypt, which is very key. Actually, if you look at the African continent, one of the declarations is the ALGERS Declaration on Value for Money, meaning that we need to ensure that if you are buying something, there is no fraudulent activity that makes you pay for something that is not going to meet your expectations. So market surveillance is very key. And in that respect, it is one of the things that we need to really make sure that it works effectively to protect the consumers in the continent from a lot of things. Some of the goods that they get are harmful. Some of the goods are low quality. Some of the goods are not durable. And for that matter, we need to have an effective market surveillance system that actually eliminates all these activities which end up making our consumers lose money and lose confidence in what is in the market. So when you look at globalization, what does it mean? It has kind of created a market that is open for imports, a market that reduces a lot of regulatory emphasis, but at the same time, creating a market that is easily accessible. But in this respect, when that globalization happens, you also need to ensure that that market is offering the goods that our people need. For the purpose of products imported or locally produced, for example, they are supposed to be examined to ensure that they conform to safety regulations or protection against hazardous characteristics. There are quantitative measurements, for example, the weight, the volume, the length, that are supposed to be checked so that we ensure that for some cases that the quantities declared is what people get. And this is where we also find a lot of challenges, that you are going to buy a liter of milk and instead of getting a liter, you get 850, you get 900 milliliters. That is not what you've paid for. So, and if you are paying for fuel, for example, so are you getting the right amount of the fuel that you purchased? So some of these aspects are what we are saying market surveillance needs to cover. Next. You can move. So market surveillance refers to that monitoring of markets and trading activities to detect and prevent market abuse, market manipulation, and other illicit practices. This includes carrying out and measures like quality control and monitoring measures taken by regulatory authorities to ensure that products in the market comply with the requirements set out in the approved specifications and do not endanger the health, safety, or environmental protection. Regulators and suppliers have the duty to monitor products coming into the market to ensure that they conform to the relevant standards. So market surveillance may be carried out before or after the product is placed in the market. So the idea is when you are doing ante, that's the before the product is released, is to ensure that you understand the manufacturing processes that are in place for the product to meet the standards. After the product has been placed in the market is to follow up to ensure that what was presented and approved is complying with the standards. So there are cases where suppliers, for example, would place, are obliged to monitor the market and report defects and incidences with products. Both pre-market and post-market surveillance activities are useful to protect the consumer safety and ensure continued the continued compliance with the requirements of the product. So the market surveillance helps to ensure that the products are safer, healthier, and more environmentally sound products, improved quality and reliability, better operational compatibility between products, greater consistency of the delivery of services, easy access at greater choice of goods and services, better product information, suitable products for vulnerable populations, and lower costs and greater competition, and hence fair practices in the market. Next. You can move. So benefits of monitoring, the activities that may be carried out, the monitoring and analysis of implementation activities in the market by market surveillance authorities, the effect of the market surveillance measures taken, and the harmonization of practices of market surveillance authorities. So one of the things that we are currently working out is to ensure that we have effective market surveillance activities in the countries in Africa, so that it can assist us when we are talking about free movement of goods, to ensure that we can have that free movement of goods happening, because we can trust that if there is any unlikely event that products which are not complying have, passed through, they can be arrested at the market level. And this is important so that we can create that trust that each country has a good market surveillance system that allows for the products to be assured that they can meet the requirements. The other facilitation that this market surveillance will give us is the ability to trust that producers or manufacturers can actually have what we call the self-declaration of conformity, whereby they are able to manufacture, they can declare they have complied, and therefore we can monitor the products once they are placed in the market. Now, that will facilitate us to have rapid production and rapid movement of goods, while the producers understand that in case the product is found in the market without compliance to the relevant standards, they are liable and there will be some sanctions against that product in the market. The cooperation that market surveillance authorities put in place within their jurisdictions include considering issues related to risks arising from a product. So there's a risk assessment of the product. What is the level of risk that that product presents to us, so that we ensure that if we are going to say, yes, the product can continue being traded, we know that the risk is not so high that it can cause injury, it can cause loss of lives to the consumers. The other thing is monitoring accidents and damage to health suspected to be caused by risks of dangerous goods, exchanging records on business entities on previous product non-conformities, and that obligates the manufacturers, for instance, to ensure that their records showing if there are incidences of non-conformities in the past, that they have been corrected and they have been reduced, rather than having an upsurge that is going up. That considering consumer complaints and information received from other authorities, business entities, and media and other relevant sources. So what we also are going to have in terms of food, for instance, you find that we have the rapid alert on food and feed that will ensure that such products that are consumed do not get to be distributed widely without having immediate recalls being put in place. Considering risk assessment, including the risk assessment conducted by the authority responsible for the customs supervision at the entry points. Next. Next. So the processes, I think these are going to be the subject of the discussions. I will not read through all these processes because I believe that we shall be having the presentations which highlight the methods used by market surveillance. I take this opportunity to welcome the moderator to actually take over so that we can have the presentations and then discussions that we might have later on. Mai Hassan, if you are ready, you can come on board and we can start at the presentations. You start taking the presenters through that. So if before she comes on, I will introduce her so that she doesn't have to introduce herself. So Ms. Mai Hassan is currently working with the Egyptian Organization for Standardization and Equality as the head of the Arab and African Affairs Department, charged with communications and managing agreements, memorandums of understanding with international and regional organizations. With over 16 years of experience at EOS, beginning from 2008, Mai plays a pivotal role in facilitating Egypt's participation in international and regional organizations. She has also completed various professional courses in marketing, quality infrastructure, and has participated in numerous standardization seminars and workshops. Through her work as ARSO desk officer and her membership in the ARSO DISNET committee, Mai Hassan has acquired extensive knowledge and experience in standardization and quality infrastructure, particularly in relation to trade, regional integration, and the African integration and trade agenda. Mai holds a Bachelor of Science degree in languages with a specialization in German from Ain University. She has further enhanced her skills through various training courses in such areas as marketing, WTO, e-learning, and TBT programs. I can confirm that she's effective in communications and linking us with EOS at all times whenever it is required. My welcome to moderate the sessions.
Thank you, Mr. Robin. I'd like to begin by welcoming all participants to this webinar. This is the second time EOS has co-hosted the ARSO monthly webinar, and I'm confident it won't be the last. Today's webinar will delve into the benefits of an effective market surveillance in promoting trade and ensuring compliance with standards for safe and quality products for consumers. Our five panelists will share their valuable experience and expertise on this important topic. Each panelist will be given 10 to 15 minutes maximum to make the presentation. Thereafter, there will be a few questions, about 2 questions. We may get them from chat, so other participants who would like to share questions, I would encourage them that as the presenter is doing his or her presentation, you can send your questions in the chat. At the end of all the presentations, we will have a plenary session. But at of each presentation, I will pick 1 or 2 questions from the chat or from my list of questions to just ask the panelists to clarify, and then we will move on. Now we will have our first panelist, Mr. Peter Kagwara, Director of Market Surveillance at Kenya Bureau of Standards and Secretary of ARSO CACO Market Surveillance Working Group. Mr. Peter will present on the topic of market surveillance in regulatory context and compliance system, covering fundamentals and guidelines and best regulatory frameworks. Mr. Kaigwara is an accomplished environmental professional with over 20 years of expertise in environmental chemistry, petroleum management, policy, and legal formulation and leadership. Mr. Peter had a wealth of experience in driving notable improvements in product quality, formulated strategic markets, surveillance plans, implementation of laws and policies. With a proven track record in chairing technical committees and task teams, he has significantly contributed to standards development in the petroleum sector and played an important role in implementing constitutional reforms in the energy sector. Mr. Peter, it's our pleasure to have you with us, and we give you the platform to share your presentation. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. I wish to go ahead. Can you see my presentation?
Yes. Yes, we can
Okay.
see.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. As you've been told, I'll be sharing on the market surveillance in regulatory contexts, compliance systems, fundamental guidelines, and best regulatory frameworks. I know this has been shared before, but just for definitions, it's market surveillance are activities carried out and measures taken by public authorities to ensure that products comply with the applicable requirements and do not endanger health and safety or any other aspect of public interest. The applicable requirements are contained in product standards, either national, regional, or regional harmonized standards. Also, conformity assessment activities that either inspection, testing, auditing, surveillance carried out to determine that a process, product, or service meets the relevant technical standards and fulfills the relevant requirements. So market surveillance through conduct of conformity assessment activities is meant to reduce the widespread incidences of non-compliance, which would otherwise cause harm to persons, plants, and animals, and the environment, or it can also cause ill health, loss of economic value to investments and assets. It is key to protection of consumers' health and safety and their investments and assets, also providing value for money spent, and also protection of public assets, including the environment and protection of honest businesses or business operators. So it's by way of aiding compliance, and then it also enhances access to market information and feedback. So how does it help in compliance? The visibility of regulators is important because visibility acts as a key deterrent to non-compliance. We have had incidences where by the more reduced, if there is any interference in our ability to carry out surveillance, we normally find increased level of non-compliance. So the visibility of regulators is important, even so that to act as a deterrent. It also assesses the level of compliance and overall awareness of standards among various operators. Also helps in compliance by physical removal of non-compliant products from the market through seizures where needed. So you can say it's a last line of defense for the consumer because it is an opportunity to intervene at the consumer product interface. It helps create a level playing field in the market by preventing non-compliant economic operators from gaining undue advantage of the market at the expense of compliant ones by undercutting them. So we've had experience where some operators can be driven out of the market due to those who are undercutting them, or some manufacturers opt also to join the bandwagon and also produce substandard products or counterfeits. So because they are trying to survive. So market surveillance helps those that want to comply, because some of them would, because they hold to high ethical standards, they would rather stop their operations rather than do this kind of business. So it also helps by educating suppliers and stockists and the distributors on how to do their own checks in the market, and therefore decline to receive products either that don't have certification marks or have been earmarked, or has been the regulator has communicated that they don't comply. So this helps in terms of aiding in increases the number of actors who help in enforcement, because it is illegal to also stock goods that are substandard. So market surveillance facilitates gaining of information and feedback. This is important in making standards more relevant to industry and consumers, since the information gathered is integrated into standards development Like for us, we normally interact with the various directorates, including the ones for standards development, and give them feedback on our experience in the market, in our investigations in the market as the Market Surveillance Directorate within Kenya Bureau of Standards. It assists in gaining awareness of product development and life cycle in the marketplace, helps in examining impact of standards in the marketplace, assists in establishing contacts with people who can keep regulators informed about latest developments and any lack of a compliance in the marketplace. So whenever we act in the market and consumers are aware, they gain confidence and give us information whenever they come across substandard products. So the visibility of what we're doing is very important in order to help consumers also volunteer information, because also market surveillance, it works better when you have intelligence. Enforcement in the market, where marketplace monitoring detects non-compliance, the following may be considered advisory to the economic operators to ensure adequate corrective action is taken to remedy the non-compliance. You realize that a lot of the operators want to comply. Of course, there are a few rogue operators who will deliberately do that, but some is just because of minor failures here and there of their processes or something. So they are normally willing to take corrective action. So whenever we notify them, they normally take prompt action. So remedial action to remove the products from the market to protect consumers. So if depending on the severity of the failure, so further enforcement action, for example, prosecution for non-compliance, especially for repeat offenders. Remedial action will depend on the level of hazard posed by the products. Sometimes determines the level of action, the severity of action that we take in order to safeguard the consumer. Where safety and health is breached, the products will usually be withdrawn from the points of sale, either by instructions to retailers or by a public notice or instruction to the manufacturer themselves or the traders themselves. So best regulatory framework, regulatory independence is critical to assure consumer safety. It's important to separate the policy and the regulatory role of in government. And therefore the regulatory role also needs to be well facilitated. There's need to be supported by legislation to minimize litigation. Sometimes this action can lead to litigation by any offended party. So surveillance is by and large a cost center, though it helps in revenue generation as companies seek compliance and face penalties. So in other words, we don't generate revenue directly, but we help our other arms of the directorate to for example, the product certification side. And when we push companies to comply in seeking for permits, because of the above, and it is important that an independent stream of revenue is provided to support surveillance activities. As I mentioned, we don't generate our own revenue as a directorate, but therefore it is important that an independent stream of revenue is provided. Dependence on the exchequer compromises the ability for prompt action, especially in our third world kind of economies where governments may have other priorities and therefore may not see it deem it necessary or very important to allocate funds for a regulator, where it is housed within an NSB, national standards body like we are. It is important to have sufficient firewalls in order to ensure independence of action. Sorry, excuse me. Regulation is mainly a governmental function, so a government agency is best suited to carry out, not the private, not mostly private. The best is government because it's necessary to carry out enforcement. As I mentioned, it is important that regulators are funded adequately to ensure that they are able to carry out their operations. because they are highly they are highly operational. It's important to avoid regulatory capture. This comes when regulators are they seem to act more in favor of those they are regulating rather than those they are supposed to be protecting. So as normally manufacturers or traders set up side budgets to influence regulators. So, but whereas the consumer, and they normally have very powerful advocacy groups, but the consumer normally is not aware, and they don't have very strong consumer advocacy groups. So they tend to be at a loss. Although whatever levies that are levied against manufacturers or importers or traders to support NSBs or these activities of NSBs and all that, or the government, even the taxes, they eventually are passed on by the businesses to the consumer. But still the consumer, a lot of the times, if they are not well protected, they can end up at a loss. So information asymmetry speaks to when the regulators have more information that those who are regulated have more information than the regulator. So, and this can be cured. So it compromises the ability of regulators to regulate effectively, but this can be cured by proper training. There are pros and cons of having market surveillance within an NSB, but also there are also advantages. There are also pros and cons to have an NSB, market surveillance authority on its own, especially if it doesn't have a proper stream of revenue, or rather funding. Digital instruments in the COVID era, and from the COVID experience, we provided people with personal protective equipment because inspection or surveillance of goods mainly is physical. However, in order to we've done risk profiling to help identify high-risk products so as to prioritize and do targeted surveillance because we have so many. I think we have over 11,000 standards. So, and therefore, we have to, and also having a limited budget, we therefore need to have prioritize the high-risk product. We are in the process of automating this risk profiling process by developing a risk engine. We have automated some of our processes to a certain degree. We collaborate with retail association through sensitization, and whenever products are not compliant, we instruct them to remove them, and this helps to minimize our officers being exposed to any kind of maybe, for example, in the COVID era. Also, media alerts for removal or when products fail, especially those with health and safety implication. So we have what you call our beacon cabs, where the consumer may be able to, through an SMS function, be able to check whether a product permit is valid, and also alert cabs. We also have a cabs an app which can be downloaded to check validity of permits. So in the continental approach, I think the previous speaker talked about the need for one. We have under the ARSO working group on market surveillance, for which I'm the secretary. Because it is important because as a continent, we are largely importers. Therefore, it is important that we ensure that what we are receiving that meets the right quality, and therefore we need to coordinate this because of our borders, where we have various trade agreements. It will also help improve our quality of our products and by exchanging best practice, and therefore eventually help our products find their way even out of the continent, and to be able to compete with products at the global stage. So under the working group, we are developing an African market surveillance strategy e-commerce regulations, and also working on a glossary of terms. So participating countries include South Africa, Kenya, Egypt, Somalia, Cameroon. There is also Guinea-Bissau. I think there are several countries. Uganda. Yes, so there are a number of countries who are participating. Otherwise, thank you very much. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Peter, for the impressive and insightful presentation. Now we will go into the second panelist, Dr. Abir Sadiq from US, who is going to give us a presentation and discussions also in short while. Dr. Abir is a senior consultant of technical affairs and director of international relations at US. And member of ISO National Climate Champion Network and member of Harmonization Consultative Committee for Agadir countries. Dr. Abir has experience in quality infrastructure pillars and activities through a job history in standardization, testing laboratories, quality management systems, consultation, and assessment. She has a deep understanding of the impact of standards and legislation on health, safety, environment, and trade issues. Through exposure to her current job responsibilities, she acquired some abilities and skills related to project management, communication, and networking with governmental and non-governmental stakeholders. She holds an MBA degree from Islaska Business School in Egypt, major is strategic management. Dr. Abir, you have the floor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Sorry for the echo. Okay, thank you, Mike. Thank you all. I'd like to express my pleasure to be with you today. It is my next time to join you in ARSO monthly webinar, but the last time was I'm taking my role where I was the moderator at that time. So I'd like to first thank all the attendees for being interested in joining us today in this important webinar that tackle an important pillar of the national quality infrastructure, which is market surveillance. This topic, it reflects both ensuring fair trade and give buyers and the traders trust and assuring the trust in the markets, and also without prejudice of consumer protection and to put it in the core of the interest of regulators and governments. I'm working on sharing my screen. Sorry, Philippe, I'd like to get the assistance from the IT to share my presentation, please.
Yes, we'll do it. It's okay.
You are seeing my the screen right now? Okay, today I'm going to talk about the key elements for effective and national market surveillance strategy for the prevention and the investigation of abusive, manipulative, or illegal trading, but from the point of view of the national experience in Egypt in regard of the importance and the collaboration between the national quality infrastructure and its trigger role in supporting regularity of markets. Next, please. Okay. I see that there is, for domestic markets, the national quality infrastructure has a protective function where it provides the necessary structure for effective market monitoring or market surveillance and also for consumer protection. Where consumers and producers rely on domestic, regional, and international markets to facilitate their transactions. Also, quality infrastructure of any country provides the necessary technical underpinning to ensure that products and services placed on the market meet relevant requirements. Any country quality infrastructure is critical for the effective operation of its domestic market. Without this quality infrastructure, uniformed one, of course, the access to foreign markets can be difficult and also impossible. To ensure fair trade, both imports and local production must be subjected to the same rules. So the matter that protect domestic producers and at the same time provides incentives for their competitiveness. Outputs from quality infrastructure are also used to support regulators and governments in designing the regulations related to health, safety, and environmental impact. Next, please. Those are this figure illustrates the building blocks of of any national quality infrastructure, or even regional and international one, where you find the cap of all of these building blocks is the societal concerns, which is reflected in any regulations that the governments release in regard of health, safety, environment, economic well-being, fair trade, consumer protection. So, although national quality infrastructure varies from country to another, still those key components or the building blocks had to be uniformed or had to be work in synergy to ensure capability of the system to develop appropriate regulation and standards, access to physical, chemical, and biological standards of measurements, which is facilitated by metrology, provision of a legal metrology system, and also availability of appropriate inspection, testing, and certification schemes to support the need of local commerce and also industry, as well as availability of third-party conformity assessment services to meet the requirements of regulators and other users, and also a mechanism to ensure all service providers are competent, and finally, availability of appropriate market surveillance services by its two phases from pre and post market surveillance. That all will serve the business concerns in this context. Next, please. This figure illustrates the quality infrastructure pillars and the players in Egypt. I'd like to make some kind of highlights in this construction that Egypt work on developing a uniformed and well-designed national quality infrastructure for ensuring the both fair trade, consumer protection, and well-managed legislative and regulatory system. For standardization, EOS is the sole entity that develop standards, national standards in Egypt, and also contribute to the standardization activity at regional and international, with regional and international counterparts. For the metrology, we have the scientific and legal and industrial metrology. Scientific metrology is allocated, or in the entity in charge is the National Institute for Standards, which is also recognized internationally and regionally to deal with the primary standards technical issues, and also for legal metrology, which also is very important in market surveillance to ensure the scales and assay and weights to be uniform and assure.
Dr. Bill, we cannot get you.
Sorry, I think I had been disconnected.
Yes, you are
Sorry.
disconnected, but you can continue. Continue, please.
Sorry.
Are you able to
I think
continue?
I have been disconnected.
Are you able to continue?
Mr. Dan?
Are you able to continue? We can hear you.
Okay. You hear me right now?
Yes, continue.
Okay. I'm just going to complete the other pillars in the national quality infrastructure in Egypt for conformity assessment, testing and inspection bodies, and also certification are contributed or are tackled by either governmental or private sector. And we have the accreditation body, which is EJAC, which get a recognition regionally and okay. For market supervision or market surveillance, it is a collaborative and association of multiple entities that synergize together to ensure that all sectors trade tackle some roles sector specific. And also we have National Food Safety Authority that covered all the functions of the food market surveillance in food sector. For the Egyptian Drug Authority, it is responsible for all the sector of pharmaceutics and medical devices. Next, please. The Egyptian market surveillance system, there is the major theme is multiple authority coordination. For example, in pre-market surveillance, you will find the domestic production is assessed by Industrial Control Authority, which is one of the affiliates to Ministry of Industry, where they are visiting the factories and assess the items prior introduced or prior to be released into markets. But from the perspective of synergy, the factories that are licensed by EOS to affix the national quality mark that EOS is the owner, those factories are not subjected to the surveillance for not doubling check and for not bothering industry. And since the system of assessment that is granted by national quality mark is the same as that of pre-market surveillance tackled by Industrial Control Authority, so there is one entity could find out all the needed inspections that is to be covered in pre-market surveillance inside the industrial facilities. For imported products, the pre-market surveillance is tackled by General Organization for Export and Import Control, which is currently affiliate to Ministry of Foreign Trade and Investment. There is a notable collaboration and coordination with National Food Safety Authority, Ministry of Agriculture, represented in Plant and Veterinary Quarantine, and also Egyptian Drug Authority for all of these processes. Next, please. For post-market surveillance, there is also multiple competent authorities synergized to ensure effective post-market surveillance process. National Food Safety Authority, Egyptian Drug Authority, and Internal Trade Control Sector, Ministry of Supply and Internal Trade are key players in post-market surveillance, as I mentioned before. And also there is a cooperation, notable cooperation with conformity assessment bodies to support market surveillance authorities in facilitating their mission in inspection and the traceability of products presented into the local markets. Next, please. This is an example for the experience that EOS had according to its role as a conformity assessment body, which we have as a other function other than our core function as a standardization body. We tackle some conformity assessment activities, and we are owner of some lab. In supporting market surveillance, that we have already technical regulation enforced the the level of energy efficiency of this device prior to be introduced into Egyptian market. This label is is granted by EOS. So there is also technical regulation for the affection of an environmental performance label for all paints and varnishes products, also prior introduction into the Egyptian market. So at this, for this task, EOS think about identifying those labels by QR coding. So this QR code supports first EOS to ensure credibility of marks granted to be affixed on the products presented in the Egyptian markets, and also support market inspection and product traceability and assure credibility of those conformity marks. By scanning the code, the market inspectors can get traceability data like manufacturer, origin, type, and even some specific technical information. For example, some of the air conditioning and refrigeration and air conditioning devices are also enforced to affect the energy efficiency label. Currently, the QR code could read on also the type of refrigerant used in cooling in these devices. That is to ensure the Egyptian commitment in regard of climate change mitigation and prevent and protecting ozone layer, in accordance that Egypt is one of the countries signatory to Montreal Protocol. Also, EOS support Consumer Protection Agency in technical assessment of consumer complaints about defectives in goods and products. That is to facilitate their judgment in regard of the consumer rights, or if the defects is really according to some manufacturing defects. Next, please. Next, please. Next slide. Now, I'd like to have a little bit thinking together with the challenges and some solutions that might face the market surveillance authorities and regulators, specifically in big markets like here in Egypt. In big markets like Egypt, with all of these diversification in goods and the products introduced into the local markets, the market, of course, face some challenges and government face some challenges while establishing uniform and efficient market surveillance system. Where market surveillance, by definition, is trade surveillance or market surveillance that refer to monitoring of market and trading activities to detect and prevent market abuse and market manipulation. Also, it includes activities carried out to measure quality control and monitoring measures taken by regulatory bodies to ensure that products in the markets comply with the requirements set out in the approved specification and don't endanger health, safety, or the environment. So the risk-based assessment schemes to adopt this approach in designing the assessment of schemes or a smart recall mechanism that also will enhance the process of market surveillance and will ensure that consumers are protected and internal markets or local markets are well regulated. Enhance also the enhancement of communication among the conformity assessment bodies and market surveillance authorities, sector specific wise, will also enrich the process of market surveillance and let the inspectors and market assessors well acquainted about the leakages and the of their tasks, will also enable them to perform in more functionality. And also that is what we already experience in Sorry, I'd like to add this point. I know that the internet is not stable, but I try hard to not losing the. Okay, sorry. I know well that the internet problem might affect my presentation, but I'm trying to elaborate a specific point that the collaboration between conformity assessment bodies and market surveillance authorities is very important, and also supporting market surveillance authorities and inspectors by the needed knowledge and share experience and raise and enhance their awareness about the conformity marks and conformity assessment bodies outputs and feedback in regard of compliance of goods and services presented to the local markets is very important in supporting this kind of activity. Also, it will support, develop, and implement programs to create awareness in issues related to consumer rights and consumer obligations that to function in better performance. Thank you, and wish to be to be able to thank you all. Thank you, Ms. Mai. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abir, for this impressive presentation. You have mentioned the quality infrastructure of any country provides the necessary technical understanding to ensure the products and the services placed on the market meet relevant requirements. Now I have two questions for you, and then we will move to the next speaker. Our first questions. From your national experience, what are the good market surveillance practices, activities that will ensure eradication of illicit trade and counterfeited products in markets? For you?
Okay, I think I tried to cover this point in my presentation, where one of the important elements, as I mentioned, is the collaborative work between the national quality infrastructure pillars and the market surveillance. For example, you will find that standards and technical regulations are cornerstone of defining market surveillance requirements. And it is in the interest of manufacturers to ensure that their products are compliant in order to be able to put them into the markets. And also the market surveillance and monitoring of products ensures that they conform to relevant technical regulations like standards or approved specifications, with respect to health, safety, and environment requirements. So that all of that will let the market surveillance ensure market regularity, which will be reflected in high confidence levels from traders and consumers, and consequently encourage investment and economic growth.
Thank you. You have mentioned the good market surveillance practices and activities. And now, in considering the national market surveillance infrastructures and programs, what is the level of cooperation? Okay. You have answered this question. Okay, thank you, Dr. Abir, for all the presentation and explanation. We will move on now with the second panelist, Mrs. Ali Barakat. She is Deputy Director at the Egyptian Consumer Protection Agency, specializing in misleading advertising and misleading marketing. With a master's degree in economics and extensive experience in the field, Mrs. Alia has a strong background in law and businesses. Her previous roles as an instructor and investigator have equipped her with valuable skills in research analysis and team collaboration. Thank you, Ms. Abir. This is Ali, sorry. You have the role. Can share your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Maya and Dr. Abir. And everyone, good evening, everyone. I'm Alia from Consumer Protection Agency. Now I'm going to share my presentation regarding the second topic.
Sorry, Ms. Alia, we can hear you.
Can you hear me right now?
Yes, we can hear you from here.
Is that
And
clear?
we can see your presentation.
Okay. My presentation is clear. Thank you so much. 1 second.
Okay.
Can you see everything now? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay, as I'm going to complete after what Dr. Abir said, we are going to discuss the key elements for the effective national market and from the Consumer Protection Agency perspective. Okay, the Egyptian legislator never forgot about mentioning how to prevent and detect and investigate any illegal actions or products, as it was stated firmly in many articles that were set in the Egyptian Consumer Protection Law. And here we can discuss article number 9. And as it is, I think, very clear in the picture, it has to contain all the data about the product itself. And it states that the supplier or advertiser is obliged to avoid any deceptive behavior when such behavior is focused on any of the following elements: the nature of the commodity, or its quality, or the elements it consists of, or the quantity of the commodity, the source or the weight or the size of or method of manufacture, or date of production, date of validity, or conditions of use, the characteristics of the product and its expected results, the price or how it is performed, including any amount added to the price. As long as refraining to this article, of course, there are some penalties that are addressed to that, as in article number 57, in case of violation of article number 9, the authority may request the supplier and the advertiser to correct or amend its deceptive or misleading declaration. If he refrains from making the correction within 3 days from the date of the application or the place of the advertisement is a product that constitutes damage to the health and safety of the consumer, or the advertisement is contrary to the article number 13 that I'm going to explain later, the authority would have taken measures to temporarily suspend the declaration for a period not exceeding 7 days. And in this case, it must edit a record confirming the procedures and justifications made and submit to the competent public prosecution within 48 hours from the date of stopping the announcement. And now regarding to article number 13. And it is very clear from the picture, discrimination. We're talking about it's prohibited to import, produce, trade, or advertise products in a way that would distinguish or abuse citizens or violate the rules of public order and morals. And also, as a penalty for article number 13, anyone who refrains from implementing the decision issued to stop the declaration in accordance to the provisions of article 57 and 13 also shall be punished by a fine not less than £50,000 or the value agreed upon with the advertising means any more. Okay, I'll move to the second slide. We're talking here about the Consumer Protection Authority. It has a proactive role through establishing advertising monitoring unit under the supervision of the leading advertisement and deceptive market activities department, which plays the following roles to protect the consumer and regulate the market through 3 sectors. As it is a very clear monitoring and then combating and awareness. I'm moving to the next slide. Okay. Monitoring, the Consumer Protection Authority expands to observe and monitor any abusive, manipulative, or illegal behavior or products that could lead to a great loss, especially when it is related to people's life. Okay, as investigators are responsible to observe and monitor any deceptive actions throughout 3 kinds of surveillance. The first one is the physical surveillance, and here we're talking about there were a lot of cases that were monitored and detected, and suitable actions were taken after applying the law by observing people or places in person to surf a certain suspected location and detect fraud, action, or products. As an example for that, Market Surveillance Department at the Consumer Protection Agency did this number of inspections on 179,169 entities and reported such a huge number of reports. And also another example, detecting 2 factories, one for milk industry and the other one for tea industry under the name or brand of a very well-known product as Lipton tea, they were using additions like dangerous materials, raw materials, to increase the number of the product in the box. The second part, or the second kind of surveillance, is the social media surveillance. And this is very important because we know that e-commerce is taking place hugely nowadays. So it's widely taking place to detect any fraud trading of medicine that could have a dangerous impact of people's life. And of course, I'm mentioning medicine here as an example, but if we're facing it in different products and commodities. As an example for that, we have detected an unlicensed factory that was responsible for making muscle and bone creams. Its name was Hemera. They were targeting old people and used to market for the product through landlines and social media. They were targeting category of people that usually use these they used to deceive them by selling it, convincing them that they are going to pay a small amount of money and it will have a great impact on their health. After we have received a complaint about the product, we collaborated with the Egyptian Drug Authority to detect whether the product is licensed or not. And this is the first step we do regarding any medicine. We have a complaint towards it. We contacted the meant parties to detect the factory members and the fraud products, as there were 64,000 packages and 8 tons of fraud raw materials at that time. The other part of, or the third kind of surveillance we do at the Consumer Protection Agency is the media surveillance, as the investigators are responsible to monitor and regulate any advertisement by any means, whether through broadcast on TV or radio. Whenever any abusive or illegal action is monitored, the above-mentioned steps takes place in order to regulate the advertisement. They implement the articles number 57 and 68 in case of refraining. As an example of that, of course, also detecting a TV broadcaster, okay, without mentioning the name, advertising about some medical products that were dedicated for weight loss. And with a collaboration with the Egyptian Drug Authority, we discovered that the products were unlicensed, and then we'd addressed the Supreme Council for Media and the channel to stop advertisement till the amendment takes place. And at that time, we also implemented the provisions that were mentioned above. I'm going to move to the next slide. Yes, and this is the second role that we play, as the market surveillance in the medical department helps to regulate and prohibit trading frauds products throughout, stopping misleading advertisements, arresting violators and detaining seizures, forming a report against violators and referring it to the public prosecution. As the Egyptian Consumer Protection Agency, as it is very clear in this slide, collaborates with many agencies to facilitate market surveillance, as it is mentioned, the Egyptian Drug Authority, the National Food Safety Authority, Supreme Council for Media, General Physical Therapy Syndicate. We collaborate with these authorities to reduce the fraud and any problem that we can see or recognize in the market, and to increase the awareness of the consumer, as we are going to see on the next slide. And here, the Consumer Protection Agency collaborates with different agencies to increase the consumer's awareness against any fraud products through press, TV, radio broadcasts, and social media announcements. Okay, through different applications, especially that practice the e-commerce widely, as Facebook, Telegram, Instagram, Snapchat, and so on. And at the end, last but not least, our role is to regulate the market. Okay, and it plays a very important role in implementing further reduction for any fraud that faces the consumer, and this is our goal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Alia.
Thank you, Ms. Maya.
Thank you for giving this highlight.
Yes, okay, thank you so much.
on the Egyptian Consumer Protection Law and the Consumer Protection Authority. And now I have one question for you.
Sure.
What are the benefits of market surveillance to consumers in handling misleading advertisements and effective market activities?
Okay, as was mentioned, we are taking a proactive role in order to reduce the number of complaints and increase the awareness of the consumers. And that what happened. The number of complaints that were received from the consumers regarding the medicine, for example, following the different kinds of surveillance, it reduced the number of the complaints this year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Alia.
Thank you so much, Mrs.
Thank
Maya.
you. And now we have our third panelist, Dr. Muhammad Ismail. He is a quality assurance expert with 26 years career in pharmaceuticals. He has PS in chemistry and physics from Cairo University. Dr. Ismail has extensive experience in quality assurance leadership roles, project management, and ensuring compliance with international regulations. He is passionate about improving the pharmaceuticals industry in Egypt, including counterfeiting efforts. Dr. Muhammad, it's our pleasure to have you with us, and the floor is yours.
Hello.
Thank you.
Yes, hello. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Yes, you can
Yes,
hear me?
we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yes. Okay. Okay. I think the time
You're cutting. Your line is cutting.
is very tight.
No, your line is unstable.
I'm pleasure to join my experience. Just a minute.
Dr. Ismail, we can't get your audio.
Um,
Dr. Ismail, if the internet is not stable on your side for the time being, we can request the next presenter to do it as you sort out the audio on your side, if it's okay. My son. Professor Bosco, Jim Bosco.
Yes, I am there.
We request that we
Mohammed,
proceed with the
I
Professor,
think you have a
Professor
problem in
Bosco.
the sound.
Do you hear me?
We will go to the next panelist and then come back to you. Okay. Now we have Professor Jan Busoko. He is a professor of mechatronics engineering, founding director of Africa Virtual Mechatronics Lab, Siemens Mechatronics Certification Center at Kimati University of Technology at Kenya. He is a founder expert, Alliance for Industry and Smart Manufacturing in Africa with UNIDO. Professor Jan is a visiting professor at University Bourgogne, France, Comité France, the National Engineering School of Tarbes at the National Polytechnic Institute of Toulouse, France. Professor Peter is also registered professional engineers by Engineers Board of Kenya, mechatronics system professional by Siemens Germany, and representative of Africa Organization for Standardization in Africa Steering Committee of Industry, and lead the discussion under the Fourth Industrial Revolution strategy. So, Dr. Jan, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. You allow me to share my screen. I don't know whether you are able to see my screen, members. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we can confirm.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me opportunity to present on this effective trade and marketing surveillance. We try to use a true cut, what is the benefit we can get from artificial intelligence, and through how we can be able to increase the transparency and also to avoid the manipulation of the market. If I may say, I created interest in when I was doing my master's degree, sometimes long time around 2006, 2007. I published my first paper in artificial intelligence those times of 2008, but that time it was not really appreciated as it is today. So what I can say is now I am trying to see how can we use now this artificial intelligence to be able to bring the transparent, because that is very important, and also to bring what we call explainability so that people can understand where the data comes from. That is what I'm going to discuss with you. Otherwise, I am working as a university professor, and I do much more work on virtual mechatronics and use artificial intelligence to solve African problems. In Africa, definitely in Africa context. What I'm going to discuss with you, I have to go a little bit on the basics. I am not much a person from the School of Business. I am a merchant engineer, but who has, because of reading a project and working, I have an understanding on the market and what do we need to do to make things to work in a proper way, because we are seeing a lot of market manipulation here and there. So we are trying to see how can we use the aspect of artificial intelligence in trade and market surveillance, and how can we try to have transparency in what we call rule-based artificial intelligence. I will explain what is rule-based artificial intelligence, and I will also show the difference between the rule-based and the black box. Many young people today, If you ask them about artificial intelligence, they take it as a black box. They are talking about something you don't understand what is happening, but as much as it can learn it. It means one of my students sometimes back was trying to say, for example, you take a cat and a dog. You know, if you are in Europe, the small puppy, the small dogs, they look like cats. So you may not be able to differentiate them. So, but artificial intelligence can be able to do that. Then we are trying to look at implementation. We are trying to look at the challenges, and we are trying to look at opportunities. That is what I'm going to discuss about. But if I go to the trade and market systems, we need to understand, I have to start here. We need to understand, well, because the market is in two categories. It may be 3 or 4, but here the main are two. What we can call the primary market, where if you look at this primary market, we are talking about, when we talk about the platform, where we have the securities such as the bonds, the equity shares, the bond share. So it means you are bringing something on the market for the first time. So in this case, there will be an implication, or there will be a communication directly between an investor and the companies which are insuring those securities. So the features of this, you will find there is issue of new securities. There is issue of maybe you can look at a fundraising platform. You can look at the compliance. You can look at the freedom to determine the price because it's the first time. But when you go to the secondary market, we are looking at now what happened, the security. You don't need those securities of the primary market. In this case, you are talking about the security happened between the investors. So it investors among themselves, they can be able to decide without necessarily involving the first companies which are giving the securities. Which ensures what we call the entities. So the feature here, you will have no impact on ensuring those company financial, the liquidity for investors, the price discovery, the regular trading. So those things you don't have them. But when you look at it, at a large extent, you will realize both primary and the secondary market depends on the country infrastructures and the regulatory political conditions. Because also in a country to a country, you can have this depending on emerging market because people can be able to, the country differ depending on how the market is behaving and what are natural resources they are having. That is what's important to understand in this. But when you go to the trade and you try to understand and you try to check from literatures, from the insider trading, you will find a lot of evidence where there are people who attempts to get benefit or to receive, to use some random, the information or economic agent in a random way, whereby they can gain unfair gain or unfair benefit. So what we are trying to see is to see how now can we set a way, because the companies like now those literatures, they are trying to see how the global regulation can be able to have serious penalties or sufficient penalties for these people who try to be optimistic, so that you can stop them. Again, what people are trying to say is to try to document this, what I can call idiosyncratic information for personal gain in a kind of a centralized exchange or in the such as a stock market, because the people are trying to play with the data. So what is happening? Sometimes this evidence are found when you are dealing with what we call over-the-counter market. So it means this over-the-counter market, which is a market which is much more fragmented, and the people can be really this decentralized market or this over-the-counter market. They are not much regulated. So it means you can really find the challenges in those kind of market. We had a case in 2015 where we had this case of conviction of Hiren Kamai from Austria. from Australia, because these people managed to get $7 million in an irregular foreign exchange. You can read much more about this case. But there are also other evidence to show possibilities. How can you use technology-based models or technology-based market so that you can be able to deal with these criminals? Or how can you be able to have the criminals prosecuted? So those are the things we are thinking about. But how do we go about it in terms of now we try to understand the technology? To be able to do it, you need to understand how the artificial intelligence works. We need to have an idea on the aspect of artificial intelligence in trade and market survey. Because to understand this, it will be giving us an idea to say, what is this artificial intelligence are we talking about? We are talking about taking the data, training them in what we can call the machine learning. Here we are talking about data science, we are talking about big data, and then we are trying to see how can we do analyzing of this data from the training them and extract a certain information so that it can help you to automate or to create a certain intelligent decision, depending on what you want to achieve. But it can happen in the real world, because artificial intelligence is becoming a challenge, is becoming, when I was doing this artificial intelligence in 2007, it was not really clear. Why do we need to do artificial intelligence? Why do we need to train the data by that time then? But now, when you look at the artificial intelligence models, they are what we call the black box. Those are like artificial neural network. Me, I was in my publication some days back. You can check this publication. You can find it somewhere here. 27, it was a conference. It is in IEEE. You can be able to find it here. You can check the fuzzy logic control. I was controlling this kind of machines by that time then. I will share with you the link in the chat. But what we are saying here, we are saying artificial intelligence is much more, you train the data and you want to use a kind of language model so that you can have a lot of computation, but it becomes very difficult for human being to understand what happened. So what is important? We are trying to see human being, if he doesn't see, when he sees something in a black box, he needed to have more an understanding and an explanation of what happened so that he can see whether this is true. And then he can be able to say, instead of saying, because sometimes you may say, it is just responsibility of AI models to give you the information. So that brings an issue of transparency in human, if you are trying to interpret those models, because we need really to develop more transparency in market data so that people can be able to understand and can be able to trust those data. So those models we are trying to propose, as I said, when we are talking about fuzzy logic, we use what we call if-then rules. If the rules, you are creating conditions. This is something small I have put here down on my screen. I had many rules, but I'm talking about when I was developing those rules. I wanted to create conditions. Here I was dealing with engineering concept. I'm dealing with voltage, current, and so forth. But in the market, you can deal also with this if-then rules. This is the same rule we use in our normal life, because when we are discussing about teaching in the universities, or we talk about the court of laws. The court of laws, they use if-then rules. If we go to the constitution, if you want to say somebody has broken a constitution, this is something in Kenya here, people use much to say things are unconstitutional. But if somebody do something unconstitutional, if I do this and I do this, then what can happen? In a court of law, there are those things of saying this is a criminal case, this is a civil case, maybe marriage versus theft. But if somebody committed this and committed this, what is happening? In USA, you will find somebody has 35 years, another 35 here, another 35 here for the imprisonment. So there is a need of having this rule-based interpretation, which can bring explainability. As I said, if I send you this paper, you will have, maybe you can have an idea, but I can go to this rule-based to try to understand what it is. Because why do you do it? You have if-then rule decision, because you say because you want to automate the system, but you want to create a condition. When you are creating a condition, you want it to create transparency, because the people will see whether the condition has been obeyed for this to happen. So it means if you want somebody to present his data, you need to have a certain condition to know or to verify. Otherwise, anything you can train in artificial intelligence, it can give you the data. So, but if you have not generated rules which allows human being intervention, we are moving from black box of artificial intelligence, but by going to if-then rules. So if we do that, it means you are allowing the human being to use his intelligence, because human being is intelligent as an algorithm, or not an algorithm help him to run very big data, very complex data. We need also an intelligent, because we need the capability of the rule-based modeling, so that which can inform the decision based on the discovered knowledge and automatic learning. So it means those a pattern, because for us, if you take today software called MATLAB, maybe some of you has used MATLAB or has used the Python, and you put the word fuzzy, or you use the word unfizz edit. If you use fuzzy or unfizz edit, you can be able to see what I'm talking about on this if-then rules. So again, what we are trying to talk about is transparency. We are trying to see whether they can be trust, but this trust can be there if people understand the rule structure, if people understand what is happening. So it means in the coming days, definitely what we are looking at transparency to build trust. That is what people, they come and try to bring the blockchain, because the blockchain is to be much more based on the trust between the traders, and then we have to have also human oversight. We want humanity to be part of it. That is why you hear people talk about Industrial 5. We are dealing much on Industrial 4.0, but people will hear some people talk about human centricity, something of that. So because there's a need of accountability, and people need to have explanation, and they have to have responsibility in the development of artificial intelligence. So when we talk about that, we need to look at this rule-based modeling. As I was explaining, you have a certain situation. There's something in this rule. You have a trade market where you have the raw data, and then somebody use black box. It will make the person who is an analyst, the trade analyst, he will look at those data, but he will be having a lot of uncertainties and a lot of trust, because you have used complex neural network. As I said, people much more, you can hear people talking about neural network, people will be talking about fuzzy logic, people will be talking about neural fuzzy, people will talk about genetic algorithm. Those are algorithms based on those machine learning people are talking about. But here what we are trying to say, can we have rule-based modeling, which has an automation, has intelligence, and has the trust? Then if-then structure will help us to do those decisions. As I said, is not a theoretical things we are discussing here, is not saying something we have not implemented in the machines. We implemented it. That is why this was my thesis in my master's degree, and I published a book on the same way of doing if-then, how can you do the rule-based artificial intelligence. Now, when we do this, we need to look at the challenge and opportunities. What are opportunities that we have there? Definitely, there is a lot of transparency. If we wanted to do artificial intelligence and do good market survey, we are trying to look at the transparency, and also we need to be proactive in addressing market manipulation. But we need to look at opportunities which we are going to get there. Today I was having a market survey on another project with the team from technical and vocational training and universities. I'm trying to ask them, if you are seated in the office and You requested to travel because you are university officers, we are public officers. You want to travel from one country to another country, you need to seek approval, and then you get your per diem, what other people call DSA. But the boss may approve. When you go to finance, they tell you there is no money. So it means if the boss is using, there is an artificial intelligence there, on any time, you can detect unusual pattern. The boss has signed for you, the vice chancellor, the president of university, depending on how you call in your country. But the finance officer said there is no money. So that is, there's a problem. But on the other hand, if somebody claims he has some millions, and when you look at, you need to look at the pattern, how this person, what is he saying? Because maybe he may be doing just the spoofing and the washing trading. Then you need to have improved predictive capabilities, because artificial intelligence will help you to forecast, and then it can allow you to have intervention as soon as possible, because you can use a historical data. Because if somebody today say we are 2024, I am an officer of a certain institution, I do this business, next year he claimed to have 1 billion, it is a problem. You needed to say how much data, how much he was selling, but where human being to go to calculate in the book may be very difficult. But if you have the data on how he has been doing it, you can be able to use artificial intelligence to predict. You can have scalability and efficiency. So it means the system can be able to analyze the larger volume of the data. That is what artificial intelligence is doing. And then you can be able to see, to allow human analysts to not to be challenged, or you can still challenge other people who are trying to cook the data. And then you can be able to have an adaptive running, which will allow you to run even information. The idea of artificial intelligence is to allow learning. I can use it in the simple way. When I was explaining artificial intelligence long time, I could say when you have a child and is in a primary school year 1, you go, you teach her or him 1 + 1 is 2. You teach from 5 + 2 is 7. Then you can ask, what is 3 - 1? Because this person, you have showed him how these things is happening, what this addition is happening, what is the logic behind it. Then this person can know, 3 - 1 is 2. Or that is how you teach, because you can't teach everything. Human being is using the natural intelligence, then you are trying to train artificial intelligence to have to do almost the same. So you can be able to, if you have this adaptive, it means as human being, if you are a parent and your child behave in a certain manner, because you are an intelligent, you can be able to, even if you have not seen that happening before, because you have a running mechanism in your body, you can start to create it, there's no problem. So you can be able to detect the emerging manipulation in the market if you use this artificial intelligence. Then you can enhance the transparency, because you have details visualization, because you are talking about rule-based. You are talking about, you have created rules and the people must follow the rules. So you can be able to detect the anomalies without a problem. But what are the challenge? Definitely the data quality and integration is not easy to do this artificial intelligence, to train systems, because you have to have high quality and accurate data. Because if you have an inaccurate data, they will give you what I can call incorrect detection, and they will give you issue of manipulation behavior. So you cannot be able to detect the manipulation. You have the complex of market dynamics, because the market is really too much dynamic. It means there are many factors which are influencing the market. So then it is difficult to do a very good model which can fully understand the marketing model. So those are the challenge. You have algorithm transparency and accountability, because algorithm may be very complex. When we are doing this artificial intelligence, you may find you have really to have, when we have machine like the computer we use in our lab for artificial intelligence, when you use the highest for computer with the graphic at the market today, we are using RTX 4070, and we are using like a RAM of 64, 128 GB. So this kind of RAM, still when you put the computer, you find, because of the data are very heavy, So we take 22. Currently, we have a project on artificial intelligence for doing 3D reconstruction. It means you have to take maybe an image, because it's a project work on a prosthetic, to try to see if you take an image of somebody in Congo Republic or another place where there is a war. You can send us a picture or a video, we reconstruct, and then we do prosthetic, and then the person can fit it. So we are using artificial intelligence for doing that job, but it takes us like 24 hours to do reconstruction. Yes.
You can wind up, please, so that
Okay.
we are heading to 4:30 when we are closing.
Okay. So I can say the compliance, I am just on the last slide, and we have to update and accommodate this compliance, and then you have the skill required for people to do this kind of work. So in conclusion, I can say AI hold a lot of significance promises by increasing the transparency, but there is a lot of data quality needed to do it. So there is a need to balance the opportunities versus the challenges, so that you can be able to develop effective and fair artificial intelligence-driven market survey. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Peter. Thank you, Professor Peter, for highlighting the market regulations, the trade and market surveillance systems, aspect of AI in trade and market surveillance, and the challenges on opportunities. You have answered all my questions. So we will move to our last panelist, Dr. Muhammad. I have introduced him before, so Dr. Muhammad, you can share your presentation. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, you listen me?
Yeah, you can proceed, please.
Dr. Muhammad, could you hear us?
You listen me? Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Please.
Excellent. Dr. Muhammad? Philip, could you hear me?
You can share the presentation from me. A problem in the sharing, I think.
You can go ahead and share.
Yes, you can share from you. I think I have a problem in the sharing. Now, you see it? I can start?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay. In the beginning, we can conclude all the session about the post-marketing surveillance for pharmaceuticals according to the successive stories in Egypt about surveillance or pharmacovigilance system in Egypt. Okay. Introduction about what is the post marketing surveillance. BMS is a practice of monitoring the safety of pharmaceutical drug or medical device after it's has been released on the market and is an important part of the science of pharmacovigilance. Okay, what is the rank of the pharmacovigilance in the scientific clinical trials of the pharmaceutical drug? We have phase one about first in man safety, phase two, first in patient dosage forms, phase three, efficacy and drug receptor affinity, and phase four, it's mean the post-marketing surveillance or evaluation of in the real clinical setting. This is to close the clinical trials. Clinical trials without pharmacovigilance don't mean anything because the pharmacovigilance have a very wide range of patients and very wide range of experiment about drug-drug interaction, about related substance, about any other serious risk on the patient. Why we need BMS? BMS to assess a known serious risk related to the use of the drug, to assess signals of serious risk related to the use of the drug. What's the difference between two statements? To assess a non-serious, which is a non-serious for the drug. Any serious risk, it adds a nature in the pharmaceutical active ingredient, like related substance, as example in candesartan. Candesartan is active ingredient for hypertension, have a very critical related substance, maybe affect the patient or affect the patient for long time, not suddenly. Okay, so it's a critical known, but a signal of serious risk related may be any adverse reaction or any quality issue in the products. Okay. The third needs for BMS is to identify unexpected serious risk when available data indicates the potential for a serious risk. Number four, risk for drug or drug food interaction. It's a very famous item in the needs of BMS because we have a culture about what I need to take with this drug. Okay, it's a very critical issue in Middle East or in Africa about what is the role of the drug against another drug. Okay, long-term effects. It's a very serious item because it's need a long study or it's need a very deep study for about 2 years or 3 years for the patient. Okay. Two types of BMS. We have reactive BMS or proactive BMS. About reactive post-market surveillance, complaint, which means complaint reporting including vigilance of mild, moderated, and severe adverse events, evaluation of data from external quality assessment schemes, and end user quality control programs. This is for a reactive post-market surveillance. Okay, but the proactive post-marketing surveillance activities, lot of verification testing, pre-distribution, and post-distribution to end users. Okay, and a lot of verification testing aim to identify any catastrophic product failure and to determine variation from lot to the next. We are talking about the consistency and the robustness of the product we need a stability of all patches and all boxes, and should be all boxes are the same and the same side effect to control it. Okay, lots many easier to consecutively or randomly sampled from testing on a panel of well characterized biological specimens. Egyptian pharmaceutical system is a vital when it comes a patient safety pertaining to medicinal products and medical devices, and the importance of adverse drug reaction reporting plays a central role to achieve this. In Egypt, the Egyptian Pharmaceutical Vigilance Center was established in the Egyptian Drug Authority to be responsible for pharmacovigilance activities. The legal framework for pharmacovigilance of medicinal products for human use include biological products in Egypt was regulated through decree in 2012. Egyptian pharmacovigilance system adverse reaction can be reported through yellow card by anyone include healthcare professionals, nurses, pharmacists, caregivers, patient relatives, and patient consumers. Although EBVC prefers healthcare provides, okay, source of information. Marketing authorization holders should report the adverse reaction by filling out the console for International Organization of Medical Science form. It's a mandatory for market authorization holder to collect safety data and risks of their medicinal products and report them to Egyptian pharmacovigilance for all serious events, while non-serious events can be reported in periodic safety update report. Non-serious issues may be a quality issues, a deformation in the boxes, missed batch number, missed in manufacture and expire date, not affect the patient health. Okay. Also, as per the Egyptian pharmacovigilance, dedicated qualified person responsible for pharmacovigilance (QPPV) should raised in the country for overseeing pharmacovigilance solutions. Also, although Egypt has an advanced PV system in place, the lack of trained PV personnel to carry out the tasks and under reporting from the public are a few of the PV challenges experienced. We can give a brief about the Egyptian pharmacovigilance system. We have 10 sections for the system of Egypt. We can conclude it. Just a minute, please. Number one, our section one is a pharmacovigilance system and their quality system. What's mean of this section in the system of Egypt? The definition of pharmacovigilance system is a system used by marketing authorization holder and by the Egyptian Drug Authority to fulfill the tasks and responsibilities listed in the guideline and designed to monitor the safety of authorized medicinal product and detect any change to their risk benefit Egyptian Drug Authority likewise maintain its pharmacovigilance activities. For performing their pharmacovigilance activities, marketing authorization holder and the EDA shall establish and use quality systems that are adequate and effective for this performance. Section 2, talking about pharmacovigilance master file, there are a legal requirement for marketing authorization holder to maintain and make available upon request the pharmacovigilance system master file, which means BSMF, to the Egyptian Drug Authority. Pharmacovigilance system master file definition is a detailed description of the pharmacovigilance system used by the marketing authorization holder with respect to one or more authorized medicinal products. Number 3 is pharmacovigilance inspection. The sharing of information and assessors is very important to ensure successful prioritization and targeting of this inspection, and for the proper follow-up of the inspection and the provision of recommendations on action to be taken. In order to determine the marketing authorization holders comply with the pharmacovigilance obligations established within Egypt. Number 4, pharmacovigilance audit. This chapter provides guidance on planning and conducting the legal required audits, the rule for audits and the management of pharmacovigilance. This chapter is intended to facilitate the performance of pharmacovigilance audit, especially to promote harmonization and encourage consistency and simplification of the audit process. Number 5 is risk management plan, RMB. This section, the aim of risk management plan is to document the risk management system considered necessary to identify, characterize, and minimize a medicinal product important risk. To this end of risk management plan contains number 1, to identify or characterization of the safety of profile of medicinal product, within emphasize on important identified and important potential risk. Number 2, the planning of pharmacovigilance activities to characterize and quality clinically relevant risk and to identify a new adverse reaction. Number 3, the plan and implementation of risk minimization measures. Number 6, sorry. Is the individual case safety report collection, management, and submission. This case to the format and the content for the reporting of one or several unsuspected or several suspected adverse reactions in relation to a medicinal product that occur in a single single patient at a specific point. Another point in the system of Egypt about the periodic benefit risk evaluation report, which means BPRER, periodic benefit risk evaluation, previously known a periodic safety update report, as pharmacovigilance known as are pharmacovigilance documents intended to provide an evaluation of risk of the risk-benefit balance of medicinal product or for submission by marketing authorization holder at defined time points during the post-authorization phase. Number 8 for the system of Egypt is signal management. This chapter provides terminologies and definition concerning signal management process and general guidance and principle on scientific and quality aspects of signal management process. In addition, it describes rules, responsibilities, and procedures aspects in the setting of the signal management practice overseen by Pharmaceutical Vigilance General Administration. Number 9 for the system of Egypt is post-authorization safety studies. A post-authorization safety studies is defined as any study relating to an authorized medicinal product conducting with the aim of identifying, characterizing, or qualifying a safety hazard. Okay, confirming a safety profile of the medicinal product or measuring the effectiveness of risk management measures. And this is a final aspect of system is a safety communication about information to patient and healthcare professional in public health responsibility and is essential for achieving the objectives of pharmacovigilance in terms for promoting the rationale, safe and effective use of medicine, preventing harm from adverse reaction, minimize risks, and contributing to the protection of patient and the public health. Safety communication is a broad term covering different types of information on medicine, including statutory information as contained in the product information. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad. Thank you very much for this insightful presentation and for giving highlight in all the proactive post-market surveillance activities and pharmacovigilance system in Egypt. I just have one question for you. What should be the role of manufacturers in the process, noting the need for close cooperation with the market surveillance authorities and actors? Thank you.
Please again the question.
Okay. What should be the role of the manufacturers in the process, noting the need for close cooperation with the market surveillance authorities and actors?
Okay. Practically, the pharmacovigilance is the last car of the train. Okay, we have a train of the responsibility on the manufacturing about from the design of the factory, the design of the product, the design of the method of analysis, the method of manufacturing. This is the responsibility on the manufacturing to gain a good quality and good efficacy and good safety product for the patient. Okay, so which I mean it. The pharmacovigilance is the last car in the train, but we have many cars in the train like factory commissioning and industrial pharmaceutical industry and research development, stability studies, bioequivalent studies. All these investment and these scientific basics should be reflected in a good pharmacovigilance practice. Okay. After that, the pharmaceutical industry is an ethical industry. Should be manufacturing should be shared every data, bad data before good data to make an assessment because there are a risk about patient maybe died. Okay, this is a high risk. We are talking about peoples. Okay, I need to make a healing for these people, not harm these people. So and after that, the pharmacovigilance can be make any successive stories without licensors. Okay, licensor is a basic of data and the basic of corrective and preventive action and the basic for any risk assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad. After this, due to time, I will call the panelists for their 1 second takeaway recommendations. And I will start with Professor Peter.
If not, we can start with Dr. Mohammed so that he can.
Okay.
Yeah, so he can.
Okay.
Dr. Mohammed can give us the takeaway, from the presentation. Dr. Mohammed?
Yes, I'm with you.
Your last take home, what would you recommend?
About what this picture impact?
Yeah, about the market surveillance with respect to the pharmaceutical products and the devices. What's the future, and why is it important, and why should it be strengthened?
Okay. And after that, another one, don't make anything from this.
It's just a one statement.
This make a very, without market surveillance, a market could become disorderly, which would discourage investment and inhibit economic growth. Okay, should because I need to save my money and invest in the pharmaceutical industry, but I need a law and rules for all to gain the same target. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Jean Bosco. Yeah, Jean Bosco. What do you see the future looking like if we are going to deploy artificial intelligence to assist with data collection and market surveillance? What do you expect us to see?
Yeah, thank you so much. To use the artificial intelligence for the data surveillance, we can look at it. There is some risk when you are using artificial intelligence, especially to collect the data. Because how secure is the data you are collecting? Because the market, you may use the data against. I mean, if somebody use the data against other competitors, it is a big challenge. It is a big issue. Or when people started to cook data to influence the market. So it is artificial intelligence is good, but if people they don't use it correctly, it may be a high risk, because I am trying to look at it even for human being. If somebody collect your data and use it for you to get a job and or to remove you from applying for a job, that's a problem. So the market surveillance is very important to use artificial intelligence, but it's very important to know how do we keep the privacy, how this artificial intelligence will be able to keep human privacy and business privacy. That is what we need to keep in mind as we are trying to use it. We need to have clear policies. I think there is a need to develop the policy and the strategies to integrate artificial intelligence in the Africa context. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's why we're actually working on the ethics of using artificial intelligence so that it doesn't harm us. Thank you. We shall be engaging further on this.
Thank you.
Earlier, you from the consumer agency, how do you see market surveillance assisting us to create trust as consumers in all sectors that you have an intervention in? Earlier, if you're with us.
I think she's not with us.
Oh, she's not. Then we can go to Abir.
Dr. Abir, yes.
Yes, Dr. Abir.
Yes, Dan.
Yeah, so your last take in terms of the quality and regulatory infrastructure, having a good or integrated market surveillance that can assist us create trust in consumers. Your last
Sorry,
take.
Robin.
Okay.
Sorry, Robin, I didn't hear you.
We're asking about your last take in terms of the quality infrastructure, quality and regulatory infrastructure, having market surveillance that creates trust in consumers. What is your last take on that? It's not a question, it's just your opinion.
Could you repeat it, please, because she couldn't hear you?
I'm saying, in terms of what she presented about the quality and regulatory infrastructure, having an effective market surveillance, what is your last take on the issue? You are muted.
Now, okay. In view of what I'm presenting today from the perspective of the importance of quality infrastructure to have an positive impact on the process of market surveillance, I'd like to highlight the market surveillance function needs a lot of support by governments, by regulators, and also to support their work in regard to be able to collaborate with different stakeholders, starting from control authorities, manufacturers, government, regulators, even the Trading Support Institute. All of those stakeholders of the process need to be well cooperating and well coordinated. And I think digitalization and supporting these activities by digital solutions will support in data collection, in rapid alert systems. The point that I highlight is one of the challenges for the market surveillance authorities to be able to get rapid alerts. So rapid alerts, currently in Egypt, it is we are working on starting trials to make some collaborative work in regard of designing and building up and developing a rapid alert system that is to be able to facilitate the function of market surveillance authorities and to to develop corrective action and recall activities needed in case of hazardous and high risk defects investigated or explored in the markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Peter Kaiwara, here with us. Your last take on the future for market surveillance in supporting intra-African trade. Is Peter with us? Okay. If he's not with us, I think we can move quite fast towards the last point, and the last point is basically to thank all the panelists. Alia, I thought she wasn't. If Alia is there, she can still give us the last remarks.
Just give me 1 minute to make sure that she is online or not. Okay.
Yeah, if not, we can still continue. She can come in. In the last, I can't see her. So let's move to the last point where we are going to alert people about the next 48th webinar. So the 48th webinar will be hosted jointly between ARSO and the South African Bureau of Standards. And in that one, we expect we shall be covering the issues of the fourth industrial revolution, opportunities for Africa's sustainable development. We shall be looking at the technological revolution and what it entails for Africa's transformation, and the economic development and the role of standardization in that. Remembering that ARSO has already what we call the fourth industrial strategy standardization. And we are looking at how we deploy technologies within this particular sphere to promote Africa's sustainable development. We shall be hosting this together with the South African Bureau of Standards, with the acting chief executive, Liso Makele, being the co-host between ARSO and South Africa Bureau of Standards. So we welcome you for that so exciting topic, where we shall be looking at what exactly is in this fourth industrial revolution and how do we expect it to be of use to us. South Africa has experience in this. They have deployed it in quite a number of areas, and they have early experiences that they can share with us. But that doesn't mean that it is only South Africa. We shall be having also inputs from other stakeholders, and we shall also be looking at inviting those who are participating in what we call the open community for ethics in artificial intelligence, what we call Oceanis, so that we can also look at how is the world taking the fourth industrial revolution and artificial intelligence in terms of ensuring that there are ethics that do not result in people or human beings being disadvantaged as we implement the fourth industrial revolution. I thank you very much, and I see that we have exceeded our time. So if we can put on our cameras, we take the photos, that will be fantastic, so that we keep the records of those who participated. Kindly, all those who can put on their cameras, put them so that our IT group can take the photos. I thank you very much for all those I can see.
Thank you, Mr. Robin.
Yeah, Dan, tell us when you are done. It's called Dan, and I want him to do it, to tell us when he's done. Very difficult to differentiate the two terms. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Are you finished? You tell us before the smiles disappear.
No, I was going to laugh. Sorry.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, they have confirmed it is okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, and hope to see you in the next webinar for the 48th webinar that we shall be having. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Arun. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, all panelists and participants. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. And we confirm to delegates, we will share the presentations. Yes. Those people.